Hello and welcome to the I'll Try That podcast. This week we're going to be heading up to Scotland to savour the flavour of Arcade Beerworks. But first, in the hot topic, we're going to try to investigate how we can get pubs to your door.
Thank you, young Christopher. What have you missed, apart from obviously all the actual things of going out and about and doing stuff, but what have you missed the most whilst lockdown has been going on?
Pub culture. As in being in a pub, hearing the noises, being able to go watch sport in a pub with a beer, seeing all your mates having a laugh.
So, Simo, what would you say if I were to tell you we could bring that pub culture, maybe not the full pub culture and the full pub experience, but we could bring an element, an essence of that to your door?
I would say that's dangerous, but intriguing.
Even the pickled onions in a jar that haven't been touched for years.
The sticky floor that sometimes happens when you go to they've built. I want spilt beer. I want someone I want a local sat in the corner. That's a bit weird. You can't do that. But have that local that comes in.
Well, let's not rule it out. I don't know the full scope of what you can request on this, but you can. There's a company that's been set up called Pub to Your Door by a young guy called George Dean, of 25 years old, who was a former bar manager, and he's been trying to find a way of keeping drinks flowing for thirsty Londoners by creating a pub on wheels. So he wants to bring back that experience of a pub to make the coronavirus lockdown more bearable. Now, you can go on right now, if you're in the London area, and you can Google pubtoyourdoor.com, and you can go in and book George's services, where he will come in, and I give you there's some photos of this. It looks fantastic. It literally looks out the back of a van, very nicely done, out the back of a van, a load of wood cladding with beer taps, and, they've got Camden on tap. I can see their beer selections right now. They've got Camden. They've got looks to be some sort of craft, kind of nondescript kind of tap font on there as well. They've got a Prosecco as well. So, there's enough that you could expect from the public atmosphere. I'm sure if you were to tell them ahead of time, Simo, your weird kind of local from the corner could be also brought along to sit there. You might be able to get some pub snacks, like some pork scratchings going on.
I see. Yes.
Will there be a urinal?
Well, the beauty of this, Rich, is that it comes to your door. It's pub to your door. So you can use your own home facilities, but with the luxury of the pub outside your door.
Well, that means I might need to install a urinal, because if I want the full pub experience, I want to kind of be slightly stooped up against the wall, trying to wee into a urinal.
Yeah, or maybe one of those troughs that you have in the men's room sometimes. Yeah, but surely, if it's your pub to your door, you're wearing slippers and a dressing gown. Talking about pub to your door, what would you say has been your attire for the lockdown?
Okay, so it's an interesting look. It's kind of casual tracksuit bottoms, usually a Canterbury pair. And then I usually have some sort of nondescript fluffy hoodie with a dressing gown over the top, because that's a class, and it's the patchwork red and black one. And then probably the hoodie has to be over the head with a woolly hat already, and then headphones over the top.
Oh, well, my one is continuously great shirts, as you can see what I'm wearing right now. This one was £2.50 from a charity shop.
It's pretty phenomenal. For those listening, Drabbers is wearing a turquoise shirt, short sleeve shirt, with flowers on, with kind of a golden blazing colour.
And a hella deep V.
Allowing the hair to be flowing from the chest, yes.
Oh, and shorts.
And one thing I did forget as well is I do wear Superman slippers as well, just for the added look.
Right, so going back to this, would you guys be interested in a pub to your door offering?
So I would like to just see how much is it going to cost for a man to drive to my house and give me beer?
That was my one. Was how much does it cost, or could I do exactly the same for a tenner?
So what I have, pub to your door menu. Okay, reading from the website: Camden Pale Ale, £6. Camden Hell's Lager, £6. Picante, Black Lines Picante, which is a cocktail apparently, £8. They also offer pub snacks of Black Horse Biltong for £3.50. So it feels like, I don't know if there's a charge for him to come to your door, or if this is just a guy driving around a van in these locations. He serves SW11, SW18, SW12, SW17, SW4, and SW8. So around my area, actually. I'm in SW11. So I don't know if he's just, at the weekends, just delivery hours are between Wednesday and Saturday, it's 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. So I don't know if he's just driving around in his mobile pub and just waiting for someone to book on the app, and then he just drives and just pulls a couple of pints for them.
Is it in a glass? So it's in a, like, you get a pint?
Well, plastic cups, because you can't have glassware outside.
And you can just take it away. That's so. I'm loving it even more.
I was going to say, could he be like the ice cream man? I feel that would be a bit more down my street sort of thing. He's got some beer related, like some music or something like that from like the German beer festivals or something like that. And then excited people over the age of 18. You know how you remember you were a little kid? I still get excited for an ice cream van now. But if the ice cream van was a beer man, I could get really excited running down the street towards the beer man. And then you just see hordes of men and women running towards the beer man while music's playing.
I think you're spot on there, Traps. I think the ice cream man for beer is a great kind of description of what Pub to Your Door could or should be. They should be pumping out music for people to come and say, oh, I know what that sound is. There's a pub to your door nearby. Let's go chase it down.
It needs to be catchy as well. The song, the tune needs to be old school noise. It can't be like, I feel like it needs to be like a really traditional sound.
Pa 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 pa, just that. And
what is a really traditional sound? I think we leave it there.
Yeah,
Listeners, if you know what a really traditional sound is, please let us know. Maybe like some steelworks, moving. The coal industry moving. I don't know. There you go.
Oh, right. Funny.
Before we digress even further into what a really old traditional sound is. So this week we're going to be talking about Arcade Beerworks from Scotland. And actually, Simo, what are they all about?
I mean, as you said, they're quite an enigma, but on their, they do say that they started off with Rob Gilmore and Kevin O'Donnell. And despite clocking up over 13 years in the industry, Kevin as an editor of a beer magazine, Rob as a product buyer for a beer retailer, they always classified craft beer as play rather than work, which I absolutely love that. So I think they kind of realised that they had an opportunity to get into it, because obviously when you have that much experience in alcohol, if that makes sense, because obviously being in the magazine is not necessarily to do with the actual creation of beer, that they were bound to kind of join together and make something happen. Basically, the Arcade Beerworks was just come from their love of beer and the fact that they wanted to create something that was good and enjoyable and fun, because basically all they would do was talk about beer and all they would do was write about it. And I think it was like a natural progression for them, and that's how it was born. And I think that's why they wanted to push on everyone. What they were saying is the fact that it is always for amusement only. And that's labelled actually on the cans, isn't it? Like a tagline.
By calling their company Arcade, obviously springs to that mind of, going down to the seaside, going to those arcades where you've got slot machines, you've got the kind of the penny game, where you put pennies down and it, they all rack up and then like more pennies will get pushed off the end. Actually, Rich, you might have a bit more experience in that living by the sea for so long. Those kind of like down the boardwalks and stuff.
Under the boardwalk. Down by the sea.
Well, I do. This is so when I moved down here, I've frequented the arcade more than I probably should have, and I do actually have a wad of tickets or like receipts now from all the tickets I've won in the arcade because I'm saving up to buy something from the wonderful arcade shop. But we've got about 9,000, I think. Nice.
That's an impressive wad of tickets for the arcade.
Yeah.
So the arcade's whole kind of vibe, I suppose, is, as you said, it's that amusement and fun, kind of celebrating that endless fun of beer that has to offer, which is, an interesting phrase that that's what their words. It's a celebration of endless fun beer has to offer. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's obviously a lot of enjoyment and fun and beer brands and beer companies have a lot more license to play in this kind of quite fun and jovial space. But I definitely don't want to kind of say that, that it's all about the fun. just because that obviously if you talk about entertainment, you talk about arcades, you talk about fun, it obviously brings it quite a juvenile, quite childish, kind of like connotations. And obviously beer is not for children.
I would say that what they're kind of going for, I feel like, is like the nostalgia of it, right? So I feel like maybe they're gearing towards more the idea of it's like the nostalgia of the fact that it feels like what it used to be like to go to an arcade, potentially, just to like caveat what you're saying.
Yeah, I think you're right, but it's a beer.
Yeah.
So it's like they're closely aligning themselves with, if they're talking about nostalgia, then you're still talking about when we're younger.
Yeah.
You're still talking about when you're underage to drink beer. And so that's a bit interesting that they're trying to really hammer that home. It's about the fun, the entertainment. If they're trying to have an encapsulation of this is about entertainment, this is about enjoyment. We've heard breweries talk about that before. We talked about a non-alcoholic beer company recently, that Infinity, that was all about the enjoyment about it. I think there's a way of talking about entertainment, fun, arcade that isn't, saying it's about nostalgia and this is intrinsically trying to link you back to, remember when you were 6 years old at the boardwalk and you were able to put 10p into a slot machine, because it was there.
I was going to say, I've also never drunk beer in an arcade.
Yeah, because you're too young to do it.
I really like the style of the can, and I like the fact that what I've just noticed from you guys, by all of us putting up our beers to the video, that we've all got different versions, but all for the colours, right?
So what I find really interesting and amazing about this brewery, and the design, I would say, the design is what's so fascinating about this company. They've actually had quite a few articles on the die line, which, if you're a proponent or follower of anything to do with design, the die line is the one to go for. You can win some serious great awards for design. And they have done a lot of features on this design. So their beers are actually numbered. Right now they only have 4 beers, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Simo, I believe you have number 1.
I do, and it is the number 1, which is IPA. So it's a traditional Indian pale ale, being crisp, clean, and easy to drink.
I've got number 2, which is their pale ale, and Rich, you have
number 3, their citrus pale ale.
Nice. And number 4 is the New England Session IPA. Everything to do with this brand, they have taken the, what you would have, like the slots or the kind of the little tokens that you would get at those machines. So you wouldn't actually ever play arcade machines with real money. You'd always go and exchange your money for arcade tokens and then play with those tokens. So you can see around the emblem, which is like one of these little tokens, it's like a pentagram. Pentagram is a one word, isn't it? What's a 5-sided shape called?
Pentagram.
It is a pentagram, isn't it?
Hexagon.
Yeah, hexagon 6.
Square.
No, pentagram is a pentagram, yeah.
So it's got a pentagram around it, and it's got the number of the numeral inside, and around the outside it says "good for one play."
Yeah.
So I quite like that they are really leaning into this kind of arcade, this kind of entertainment, the fact that it's about jovial in a celebration of beer in a more playful way, and they have up there on the label as well, like one play, repeated again, and they've got, really interesting kind of way of laying out the can, which looks very similar to each design, but the color is what's different and the copy is slightly different on the can, but they look very consistent, don't they?
I really like it.
What I've also noticed is they haven't chosen to do any dark or stouts or anything like that. All of their ales are quite light and refreshing. They haven't kind of strayed down that way. So I was wondering if that was playing into something along those lines as well, that they wanted to keep it light, refreshing, happy-go-lucky.
I feel like they've created 4 potential like session beers. It makes me feel like they haven't gone for like this quirky like one try beers. It feels like they've made 4 solid. Well, we can talk about the flavour, but 4 beers that are supposed to be drunk in kind of like, you have a session on 1, you have a session on 2, you have a session on 3, but I really like the number 1. I don't think it blows me away in any way. And it does say that it's supposed to have grapefruit, citrus, and gooseberry. And I would say that there is a lingering taste of like sweetness. And I do taste the grapefruit, which I really love. I absolutely love grapefruit. And I can taste it all the way through it. So who's got the number 2?
I'm on number 2. So I think, and it's interesting that you say about the session. I hadn't really quite twigged that, but The IPA, the number one that you've got, Simo, is 4.5%, which is very low on an IPA scale. It's more of a traditional IPA kind of ABV. Pale ale that I have is 3.8%. The citrus pale ale that Rich has is 4%, and their New England Session IPA is a 4.5. So it's weird that the Session IPA is still the same as an IPA, because usually session ales are usually a bit low on the ABV. But I think going back to, as you said, this isn't like, one-hit wonders. These are beers that are meant to be enjoyed over time. Yeah, the Beerworks 2, which is what they call it, which is the pale ale, they're referring to it as meant to be thirst quenching, subtle flavors. The citrus really comes through and it dries your mouth out as well.
Okay.
They're saying that it's meant to have an orange and biscuity malt. I don't know. I think that's stretching a little bit. This is an okay pale ale. Like, this is very sessionable. It's 3.8%. Similar to the IPA that you've just talked about, Simo. It doesn't blow me away in the flavor profile. It's not aggressive in that way. It's not it's meant to be smooth. It's meant to be something that you can drink over time.
Like easy. It
is an easy beer, but again, pale ales, as pale ales go, there's a high bar and high quality of other products that are out there as a pale ale.
Okay, so Drabble, what do you think about number 3?
So it's I've got the citrus pale ale. I was going to say, yeah, well, like the citrus pale ale, it's the same as you guys have said. It's nice and it's fine, but there's nothing blowing me away about it. It says it has a mild citrusy taste to it, which is nice, but I can't get, and I get the bit of the fruity aroma, but I don't get the biscuity flavours. But it is a session ale, and I could drink a few of them, and I wouldn't say no, but they're not something I don't think I'm going to come back to right away.
It sounds bad, but I feel like the way I feel about them is if they're if you went round to someone's house and they were in the fridge, I wouldn't turn it away. If somebody had bought me a crate of 20 beers and there happened to be 4 Arcade beers in there, I wouldn't say no. Like I feel like it's a very solid beer, a drink, and it's like that's, and it feels like a safe bet almost. Like it's not over the top in anything, is it? Like,
so I think I might have figured out why these beers are okay, but the branding is very on point with the design. So this brand is actually owned by Flavourly.
Oh.
Flavourly were looking for a way of securing their own supply chain. There are, as we talked about before, Flavourly is a beer subscription model, company where you basically go online, you can buy beers direct through them and they deliver them to your door. Flavourly have gone full circle, so they've decided that they want to secure their own beer supply, their own beers, rather than just relying on other breweries and selling their other beers. And they've created a beer company or production behind it and a brand, which they have called Arcade Beerworks. So this is a purely manufactured by another bigger, like a beer subscription model company beer, which is why I think we're probably finding that there's a little bit of like, what's this company about? Who are these people? What's the story? So it did feel a little bit like vague, the fact that they've got 2 founders that have, one was an editor for a beer magazine and one was, is a buyer for beer things. They work for Flavourly, or they are Flavourly. I don't really know the relationship. So it's a bit like, oh, okay. So they're just trying to close the loop. They're trying to create the beers that they're already selling to people. I'm not saying, I don't think that's a bad thing. And that's a very smart marketing, and business savvy move. You want to do it. You do that with any kind of beer company. If you are offering, not beer company, but any kind of industry, if you're offering or you're the selling platform, you would try and go down the vertical, of your business. So if it happens with anything, if you're selling the beers, you would want to secure the vertical of your business and deal with the source. You want to be the source yourself so that you always secure the way of either what you're selling. So I don't know.
I mean, stop laughing at me, Drabwell.
Sorry, Drabs, were you trying to say something?
I'm just laughing at Simo trying to end it again.
That's right. No, it's not because I was trying to end it. It's just because Joe kind of went off and he kind of finished up.
Why this company has made a lot of headlines, especially in the lights of the Die Line, for their design, is because they were designed by Thirst, and we've talked about Thirst before. They did the design for Thornbridge. And,
okay.
They're kind of Jaipur beers and, those beers. So, they're a Glasgow, Scotland-based company as well. And they're obviously making a name for themselves in this craft beer industry of being the ones that you go to for, good beer design and work that you do there. So I think that's really fascinating to see. Looking through Thirst portfolio, it's a lot of small spirit brands, but a lot of beer companies in here. Thornbridge being one of them, of course.
Didn't you also say that they weren't... What was the terminology that Drabwell found out? Joe, you said they were a thingy brewer.
Contract brewer.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, so I think this makes a little bit more sense now, but the fact that they're owned by Flavourly, but they are a contract brewer. and I don't actually know too much about what that is, Drabs.
So a contract brewer is somebody who doesn't actually own a brewing site. So they will rent part of a brewing site, or they'll rent the production line from a brewing company, which kind of makes a lot of sense if these guys don't have a headquarters or a base and they're owned by Flavourly. And if Flavourly are looking, say they need to add some beers to a collection, they'll rent some production from a different brewer and maybe buy a beer from them, sort of thing, and then name it underneath their brand. So they've got something to throw into the boxes that they're putting out.
Numbers wise, on Twitter they have 24 followers and they're not following anyone.
24.
Yeah, and on Instagram they have 68 followers.
Wow. We're actually way bigger than them.
They're followed by Flavourly.
Oh, nice. I mean, I would actually say though, like, all joking aside, if you haven't tried one, if you can get hold of one, I would try it because you might like it.
I kind of feel like you're mostly going to find Arcade Beerworks if you order through Flavourly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's basically where you're going to get this beer for a long, long time. And that's all we have time for this week's episode of the I'll Try That podcast. And so from me, Joe,
Rich,
and Simo,
goodbye. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram,
Twitter,
and watch us on YouTube.
Goodbye now. Always drink responsibly, and if you or anyone else needs some help, go to drinkaware.co.uk for more information.